164 new Canadians are on their way to Toronto from Beirut, the first of 10,000 Syrian refugees promised by the end of the year. Toronto's taxi drivers' frustrations are heard as Mayor John Tory and Police Chief Mark Saunders agreed to meet with industry members.
This one here is a cross between a Cocker Spaniel and a Beagle.
Researchers at New York's Cornell University announced the first puppies born through in vitro fertilization. Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Evan Pressman, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. The first 164 Syrian refugees land in Toronto tonight after leaving from a Beirut airport early this morning. The arrival marks the start of the Liberal government's plan to bring 10,000 refugees to Canada by the end of the year. The Canadian military transport plane is expected to make a stop in Germany before heading to a Pearson airport. Once they arrive, the refugees must go through a screening process and will be given warm clothes. Fewer than 500 refugees arrived in Canada between November 4th and the end of last week. The government plans to bring a total of 25,000 to Canada by the end of February. Those refugees will be joining a long list of newcomers who've been welcomed to Canada. The immigrant story is very familiar to people in the GTA. Reporter Catherine Green has a story of one family from Afghanistan who made the perilous journey to Canada.
Right now, the first flight is on its way to Toronto Pearson Airport, carrying 150 Syrian refugees expected to land here this evening. Less than 20 years ago, another family had the same shared experience fleeing their home as migrants. I spoke to the Faiz family to hear their story. The Faiz family is from Kabul, Afghanistan. The family of 6 led an ordinary middle-class life. Parents went off to work in the morning and the 4 kids went to school. But in the early 1990s, the Taliban was rising to power in Afghanistan, and life changed quickly for them. Today, in her Ancaster home, almost 20 years later, Katara Faiz remembers the frightening time.
Knew it was all about power. They knew it. So that's when they contacted my uncle that it's getting really bad. Because we lost a brother. I lost a brother, so.
Katara watched from the balcony as a rocket killed her brother. The Faiz family knew they had to escape.
It was hard to leave. It was hard to leave. I can remember we escaped in the dark. In the middle of the night we escaped and traveled. Probably it was 18 hours. I cannot recall exact hours, but through the mountains.
Life of the refugee means unimaginable obstacles and not knowing what's around the corner. It meant trusting strangers, bribing officials, and making their way across border in secret. They hid for nearly a year in Pakistan when family in Canada tried to bring them to safety. The day came and the flight out of Pakistan brought them to Pearson Airport. Like the families of the Syrian refugees landing tonight in Toronto, the Faizes were met by private sponsors who gave them a furnished apartment, clothing, food, and a fresh start on life. The Faiz family have made Canada their home. They are the typical middle-class family. They go to work, attend university, and are raising kids of their own. They know for the refugees arriving tonight, the process isn't easy.
It's just upsetting that they don't know the potential of these people coming in. They look at them in such negative mind view. The majority of them have very high expectations and very high potential to benefit the society, basically.
The Faizes say they know the refugees can make a life here. In the upcoming weeks, Toronto will have a small part to play in the Syrian refugee crisis. But like the Faiz family, it will make a big difference for those who need it. Catherine Green, Humber News.
Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders has agreed to meet with taxi drivers, putting an end to the Uber protests in Toronto.
We are here to stay. Just a reminder, Uber is done.
Thousands of taxi drivers blocked the intersection at Queen and Bay Wednesday to protest against the unregulated operation of UberX. The protest caused chaos on the streets for most of the day. It ended around 7:30 after Mayor John Tory tweeted that Saunders would meet with drivers if they ended the protest. The meeting is expected to be sometime this week. The court case for a man charged with causing the death of 3 children and their grandfather has been postponed again. Marco Muzzo appeared briefly in a Newmarket court today by video link. His case has been put over until January 6th. The 29-year-old is facing 18 charges, including impaired driving and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. This is the 5th time Muzzo's case has been postponed. Overseas, 2 German jets are on their way to Turkey to join the military campaign against the militant group ISIS. A total of 6 German jets will be deployed to the Middle East to help protect French forces already in the region. The German parliament approved the mission last week in reaction to France's increased military effort after the Paris attacks. The forces will not engage in airstrikes against Syria. Areas of England are devastated after more flooding hit the north of the country. The flooding caused one riverbank to break, overflowing into a village in northwest England. It's the second time the village has been affected by the floods in 1 week. The floodwater has since receded, but local authorities say the area is still dangerous. Oxfam wants world leaders to recognize the chaos that will happen if they don't reach an agreement at the climate talks in Paris. And protesters are finding an interesting way to get their message out. Oxfam dressed protesters up as world leaders, then they lay down to doze off for a nap, symbolizing the leaders' need to wake up and recognize the issues of climate change.
Still time for the world leaders to wake up. There is still time for this leadership to be shown. This is a great opportunity in Paris to make history and to actually turn the tide on climate change.
Thousands of negotiators are gathered to work out a global deal to limit greenhouse gas emissions and cut global warming. The conference wraps up tomorrow. Blue skies have returned to Beijing after 3 days of heavy smog. The city has lifted its first ever red alert smog warning. Cars were kept off the roads, schools were closed, and all outdoor activities were ordered to stop after Chinese officials declared an environmental crisis on Monday. Red is the highest of a 4-color system used by China and means the air is twice as polluted as normal. Beijing has vowed to cut emissions, and officials estimate they'll meet air quality expectations by 2030. Some rare photos today of the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who seems to be claiming that his country has created a hydrogen bomb. These shots show Kim touring a site dedicated to his father and grandfather. He's reported to have said they turned North Korea into a powerful nuclear state, ready to detonate a hydrogen bomb. South Korea says there's no evidence the North has such a device. Hydrogen bombs are more powerful than atomic bombs. A scientific breakthrough today from Cornell University. Researchers have revealed the first litter of puppies born through in vitro fertilization.
Together. Yes, I like you too.
The litter of pups includes 5 beagles and 2 beagle cocker spaniel mixes. Researchers say their work will help preserve endangered breeds of dogs. It may also lead to improved health for pets. Scientists will now be able to correct genetic diseases before the animals are even born. Researchers say the results may shed light on genetic disorders that affect humans as well. We share more than 300 similar disorders and traits with canines. Here at home, if you're thinking about having kids, you might want to brush up on your French and pack your bags. A new study tracked the price of childcare across 27 Canadian cities, and Toronto came out on top. Torontonians pay more than 5 times the amount in childcare than Quebec per month. On average, parents are shelling out more than $1,000 a month for childcare, regardless of the age of their children. The study also found parents are facing long wait times and limited space in regulated childcare facilities. Here at Humber, a nature-based learning initiative is working to reconnect children with the great outdoors. Laura Da Silva has the story.
Teachers across Canada are moving outside of the classroom and into the woods as part of the Forest School movement. The Early Childhood Education Department here at Humber is looking to connect children with nature by turning the Arboretum into a primary learning space. Schools within the system encourage children to foster a relationship with a natural space that they visit and attend to every day. Louise Simiani recently went through an intensive training course to experience sustainable learning for herself.
So children might be doing work with ponds or marshes or building shelters. In a lot of forest schools, they're learning how to use tools and make tree cookies, learn how to safely make fires, cook over a fire.
The American Journal of Play links a nature deficit to increased levels of anxiety and depression. Educators here at Humber are hoping to nurture an appreciation of nature and encourage risk-taking that will improve mental, physical, and emotional health in young people.
And it de-stresses for children who have sensory issues or physical issues, or it sort of levels the playing field too, because they are the ones that define what they're going to do in the forest.
A pilot program is set to launch here at Humber this spring.
Laura De Silva, Humber News.
A Canadian has won a Scientific Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Ian Sterling was presented with the $50,000 award in an Arctic research conference in Vancouver. His research revealed the impact of melting sea ice on polar bears. He was studying the changes in the Northern Ocean, and his research demonstrated real climate change. The Weston Family Prize is the largest award of its kind in northern science. The 73rd annual Golden Globes nominations were announced in California early this morning.
Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture, Drama. Cate Blanchett, Carol.
Carol led the nominations, with both Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara nominated for Best Performance by an Actress. The film was also nominated for Best Motion Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Score. In television, Netflix topped the list with 8 nods for several of its original series, including Narcos and Orange is the New Black. TIFF favorites Room and Spotlight were also prominent titles among the nominations. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Christine Tippett will have your 3-day forecast.
It's 9 degrees warmer than it was this time last year, and we're preparing for snow to cover the GTA. But no need to get your shovels out yet. Snow is definitely not going to happen. I'll have your full 3-day weather forecast at 2 o'clock.
We'll take a quick break, but for now, check out this video that's gone viral. This orangutan's reaction to an ordinary magic trick by a visitor at the zoo is simply marvelous. Watch this. It'll bring a smile to your face.